Well, I just want to thank God for keeping me sane. Because at times I thought I may want to catch a case.
Oh, yes.
You know, and I just said the truth has got to prevail here.
It has to.
It has got to prevail here because some people just don't want to see the truth or don't want us to see the truth.
They want to keep the truth in the dark. They want to keep it in the dark.
But it's got to come to the light.
It has to come to the light.
And speaking of the truth,
yeah.
With Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan, who was in Pennsylvania last week fighting for election transparency. And you've been fighting for transparency as many are getting censored. You have legislation, Congressman, to remove Section 230 for media companies. Do you think you'll be able to get that through? What are your thoughts on the censorship we're seeing?
We're not going to be able to get that through until Republicans take back the House. I mean, it's plain and simple. You think Jerry Nadler wants tech companies to treat everyone fairly and not censor conservatives, not censor the president? So look, we introduced a bill. 12 Republicans on the House Judiciary Committee introduced legislation 2 months ago, complete overhaul of Section 230, which has to happen. Of course, that's the section that gives the big social media platforms the liability protection that they have. So we need to overhaul that section. Our legislation does that, but frankly, we're not going to get it done until Republicans take back the House. So we're close. We're close. We're not quite there, but we're close, and hopefully we'll get there soon.
Well, we all want to see honesty and accountability. We saw Andrew McCabe testify last week, Congressman, the former deputy director of the FBI. Your reaction to him saying he would not have served and spied on Carter Page if he knew then what he knows now?
Well, I mean, big deal. For 4 years, you misled the American people. You went on TV. You launched the investigation back when it was candidate Trump in 2016. Then you took the Steele dossier to the FISA court to get a warrant to spy on the Trump campaign. I mean, it's amazing to me. The same people who are now saying you can trust big tech, you can trust Andy McCabe, you can trust the vote, are the same people who also told us you can trust the Steele dossier. They're the same people who also told us, oh, you can trust the anonymous impeachment whistleblower, the guy that none of us got to see. I didn't get to cross-examine. The American people didn't get to evaluate. But now they tell us you can trust all these other things. So I don't put a whole lot of stock in what Andy McCabe is saying now about the investigation he launched 4 years ago.
Joining me now is best-selling author of the book License to Lie, former federal prosecutor and General Michael Flynn's attorney, Sidney Powell. Thank you for joining us. Counselor, tell us a little bit about the challenges that the Trump administration is facing, and what are your thoughts on whether or not they will be able to flip any states?
They're facing an election that was absolutely rigged. We are soaking in information through fire hoses of complicated mathematical alterations to the votes. We have identified the system capability that does it. It does, in fact, exist, regardless of what the name of it is. It works through the Dominion company's voting machines that were in 30 states and does indeed alter and flip voting results.
So can you tell me right there, I understand that. So there are these Dominion machines that were voting machines, and as you point out, they're in multiple counties across the country that may have changed. How do you know this? Listen, I'm not pushing back on you because I know everyone's going crazy right now, but is there proof of that?
Yes, well, the Dominion machines are in 30 states. We're identifying the companies that created the software. They have done this in other countries around the world. It's incredibly disturbing, and we will hopefully have evidence of it before the end of the week that we can produce publicly. And the Justice Department and the FBI and the intelligence agencies, I think, have known about this before. So why nothing's been done about it yet is beyond my comprehension, but it's fixing to go public because I'm not going to stand by and watch the American public be defrauded of their chosen leader in a free country that's supposed to be free, not run by Venezuela or China.
Sidney, very important information news you're breaking here. Is it a software glitch or something more nefarious?
It's a feature of the system that was designed with a back door so that people could watch in real time and calculate with an algorithm how many votes they needed to change to make the result they wanted to create.
How did you find out about this?
People have come to me with information. I think when people realize there's somebody they can trust that will actually do something about it, they speak up. We have a lot of patriots in this country. They are absolutely fed up to the gills with corruption at every level of government. They have no trust in our public institutions now, and we will not let this election be stolen or any cheating to survive.
So let me get this straight, and it's a real important point here. Dominion voting machines were in numerous states, numerous counties. There's some sort of software backdoor, not unlike most phones will have a backdoor, but this will actually calculate and tell the person accessing the backdoor what type of voting percentages and what type of numbers are needed to change the win for a certain party, for a certain candidate.
Exactly. They can watch the voting real time. They run a computer algorithm on it as needed to either flip votes, take votes out, or alter the votes to make a candidate win.
So that's different. Now this is even different. I just really want to be very, very careful here and be very meticulous about this. It's one thing to be able to watch it and decide how much more input you need to change the number, but now you're saying there's an actual way to change the vote tallies within the system?
That's exactly right.
That's a very, very big claim there. I mean, that would be voter fraud defined right there. What's the next step?
It's massive criminal voter fraud writ large across at least 29 states. It could have been happening. Anytime a voting machine was connected to the internet, and we have evidence that many were, it was obviously happening. It's obvious from the algorithm and the statistics that our experts are tracking out for batches of votes and when the curves changed. And it's going to blow the mind of everyone in this country.
And so with that being said, we have been able to bring someone into the fold. And I'm talking about someone who's probably has one of the most brilliant minds, legal minds in this country. If you think I'm lying, ask CNN and some of those others who attack everyday people, try to destroy their reputation and change their lives forever. Y'all join me in bringing in a fighter who's fighting for you, for Georgians, and this president. Y'all welcome Lynn Wu here.
Fight back. I love you too if you're not behind the camera and remember the media. How you doing? I was sitting around Tuesday night watching the election returns. I've loved politics all my life, since I first voted in 1972. And I saw what I assumed was going to happen. I saw President Trump building up what I believed was going to be almost an historic landslide victory. And then all of a sudden, every network, including Fox News, started doing what they do best. They started lying to the American public. And they took a victory from Donald Trump and they called it a lie. They took a defeat from Joe Biden and lied and said he won. And they sent you to bed, turning off the count of the vote so you could wake up the next morning like I did and go, what happened? What happened? When I was asked by President Trump to help him in Georgia and perhaps in other places around this country, I said yes. And former Governor Perdue asked me to help him, and Vernon Jones asked me to help, and the Republican Party asked me to help. I said the same thing I said when Nicholas Salmon asked me to help him. I said the same thing I said when Kyle Rittenhouse asked me to help him. I said yes, because there is a cloud over this country. And if we don't get it right and we don't figure out what happened that night, that cloud is going to get darker and darker until it turns into a storm cloud, and we're going to lose our freedom. So it is time to fight back. I've heard over the past several months, maybe a little bit longer, they've almost neutered the word. Well, it's a constitutional crisis. This is a constitutional crisis. Let me tell you, this is a constitutional crisis. And if we don't fix it and find out what happened and get it right, we're going to lose our constitutional rights. I've been watching for some other clients. 43 years of practicing law, I never dreamed the day would come when I would be in the United States of America and there would be censorship. If they take away your right of free speech, what are they going to take away next? Where they limit your right to go to church, what are they going to take away next? When they take away your First Amendment, they're going to come after your Second Amendment. And then they're going to take away your due process. And then they're going to put you in jail because you're a dissenting voice to the ruling elite, and you're not even going to jury trial. They're going to take away your constitutional rights. This is a constitutional crisis. So let's find out. Let's find out what happened. This is about truth versus lie. You heard former Governor Perdue say exactly right. Count every legal vote. Illegal votes don't count. Illegal is illegal. So let's find out what happened. Let's find out what happened when they sent home the Republican spotters and then stayed around and counted votes in Fulton County for 3 hours. Let's find out what happened. Because something happened. There are no coincidences. There is an explanation, and when something doesn't make sense, it's usually false. It's certainly less than the truth. We need truth. We need, like when you swear in a witness, you don't say tell the truth, you say tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God. This is a nation founded under God. Don't ever forget that. A lot of voting by mail this year. Just happened to coincidentally occur in large part because of COVID. There are no coincidences. And where is the potential fraud? Or the fraud, if you want me to be totally accurate. It's in the mail-in votes. If you don't think this was planned, go home. Plandemic. I know Mickey Willis that did that. I helped him do it. If you don't think this was planned, enjoy losing your freedoms under the Kamala Harris administration. And she's not going to be running this country. There are going to be people running this country that are rich, they're globalists. Some don't even live here. A lot of them involved with foreign countries. It's time to tell the truth and be truthful and face the truth. This country is under attack. This was nothing more than a revolution. They're trying to take away your rights. They're trying to take away your Constitution. They're trying to take away, ultimately, your freedom. Don't let them do it. Donald Trump has fought for the people. That's why the people voted for him. I watched President Trump when he spoke that night. He had to be tired. I know he had been out in an almost unbelievable stretch of campaign speeches, 2 or 3 days in a row into the 2 a.m. hour. And he didn't seem like himself. And then he spoke yesterday, and you can see that he's troubled because he sees what's being done to the people. And you can say whatever you want to about President Trump, but I will tell you this. He ran for president because he wanted to help the people. And it's nice to see Ronna here and former Governor Perdue and Vernon Jones. I'd like to see Lindsey Graham and Nikki Haley. I'd like to see the Republicans stand up. I'd stand up for this president. I've watched him for 4 years, and he's been out there fighting for the people, and he's almost been always fighting by himself. Fighting against the Democrats, fighting against the Republicans, fighting against China, fighting against Iran, fighting against Russia. It's time for us to fight for Donald Trump. We want to find out if there's double voting. 1.6 million absentee ballots, a record. Was it double voting? We got to investigate it. People registering in Georgia to vote, then changing their registration to another state to vote. Was there double voting? We've got to investigate it. Triple. I mean, look at Detroit. There are rumors there that they had a record turnout by people that are in excess of 100 years old. I don't mean to judge the results of the investigation, but I know that there's got to be one. Everybody would like to have woken up on November the 4th and found that we knew who our president would be. And nobody wants to have to sit through day after day and endure the chads. Thank gosh we don't have chads this time. Nobody wants to sit around day after day after day after an exhausting campaign to try to figure out who's going to be president, especially at a time when the presidency has never been more important in terms of world affairs. But let me tell you what we got to do. We got to wait. We've got to have patience. Because if we don't do this right and take the time to do it right, God help us if we get it wrong. So thank you for letting me be a part of this today. I thank the President of the United States for asking me to help him. I want you to all fight back. Fight back for America. Thank you.
Slowly but surely, because we live in a constitutional system, not a PR system, not a left-wing system, but a constitutional system. Article 2, Section 1, Clause 2 of the Constitution provides as follows, I quote in pertinent part, "Each state shall appoint in such manner as the legislature thereof may direct a number of electors equal to the whole number of senators and representatives to which the state may be entitled in Congress." In other words, the state legislatures determine how to select their electors. Isn't that what that means?
That's exactly what it means, Mark, and it got lost in the Pennsylvania shuffle. The founding generation sitting in Philadelphia undoubtedly thought, well, should we have the state Supreme Court make the determination? No, we want what? This is a very democratic with a small d approach. We want the legislatures, those closest to the people, the state legislatures, they're the bosses, not the governor. And what happened in Pennsylvania over these recent weeks is a constitutional travesty. Governor Wolf tries to get his reforms, his vision, as he was entitled to do, through the legislature of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. He failed. He then goes to the state Supreme Court, which by a divided vote accepted the substance of what Governor Wolf was doing and then added their own nooks and crannies as well. Happily, in recent days, we've seen Justice Samuel Alito step in as a single justice. He has the power to do it. And essentially, in a very short order, say the legislature is the boss. What the governor did, this is my interpretation, is utterly unconstitutional. What the Pennsylvania Supreme Court did is utterly unconstitutional. It's just clear as the words that you just read.
Now, Ken Starr, let me ask you a couple of questions. We keep hearing count every vote. Isn't the issue is which votes do we count? In other words, this notion of count every vote, some votes are legal, some aren't. Some are constitutional, some aren't. And in that order you speak to, Justice Alito said, segregate the votes that occurred after 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Election Day Tuesday, because those votes may be in question under our federal Constitution based on what the state Supreme Court, that is, the state Supreme Court may have disenfranchised those voters by violating the federal Constitution. Isn't that the potential point that he's making here?
Exactly right. In fact, to count every vote may be a crime. It may even be a crime under federal law. It's definitely a crime under state law if that is, and here's the key word, illegal. And that's why you see, and it's shameful that Vice President Biden's people and the Vice President himself are saying count every vote and selling a lot of t-shirts. That is a potential and an invitation for absolute lawlessness. I know of a situation very quickly where a recently widowed woman knew how her late husband would vote. He was deceased. That's a human tragedy. What's a travesty is she cast his vote for him. We call that absentee ballots? No, we call that an illegal ballot.
And they say count every legal vote, except, of course, they have, and there's widespread reporting on this, pushed the Republicans out while they're counting every legal vote in the city of Philadelphia. I'm told by the Speaker's office there, they have over 100,000 provisional ballots. You don't hand out provisional ballots like lollipops. There are, again, conditions for those.
Right.
I'm gravely concerned, Judge Starr, that what's happening here is all of the checks and safeguards that have been built into the electoral process by the Constitution, by state constitutions, and by state legislatures are being litigated away. You know, Donald Trump was selected president in 2016. We knew he had won. He wasn't actually selected at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. the next morning, but we knew he had won because it was overwhelming. They're still counting votes now. They're still counting votes now because chaos seems to be the objective. The more chaos you can create, the more uncertainty you can create. The Democrats, Judge Starr, seem to want to vote earlier and earlier and count later and later. What's the point of that?
Yeah, both ways. Well, it doesn't bode well for confidence in the election process. Everyone uses the word integrity. I think on the Republican side, we're using it with every breath that we take. Can't we have honesty and transparency and openness and so forth? And I must say, I've been disappointed in some of the reporting that has gone about the process, willfully blinding themselves, some of the reporters, to the reality of what's happening before them. Yes, what's happening, I think, in a limited number of cities, but they're all large cities, and certainly two of those large cities have a history, Detroit and Philadelphia, a sordid history of voter fraud and convictions. We're not talking about allegations and political rhetoric. We're talking about the judicial process having resulted in criminal convictions, including, in times past, the sitting state Senate majority leader who hailed from Philadelphia went to jail because of voter fraud. So failing to insist on checks and balances, sunshine, please let the sunshine in, and that's in the form of these observers who have meaningful access. It's not access, right, Mark, if you're in the cavernous convention center and you really can't see 60 yards away what's going on. That's form over substance.
As President Trump refusing to concede, we are close.